Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to your Sunday night therapy anti-Crystal Palace. I hope you're all well. Welcome to the Red and Blue Review. Don't forget to check out our Twitter account. Give it a like, share or follow or whatever it is you do on Twitter. But please get on there. Please also get onto our Instagram account. Tom Clark Samuel's doing some massively hard work on there at red underscore and blue underscore, blue under review underscore, and then underscore that as well. Okay. And he is all over it. So please seriously jump on there, give it a like and follow. He's doing his Brighton review or preview going live. I think it's tomorrow sometime. I'm sure he'll tell me in the chat. But please get on there and follow our Instagram and our Twitter accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, we know this is going to be a tough watch, okay? Not because of the panel that I got on board, but because of the state of the game yesterday, but mainly because of the panel. First of all, and a welcome back to Tim. How are you, man?
I'm good. Hello, everyone in Happy Land out there.
And your background looks as though you're still in New Zealand, but we know that's not true. Talking about backgrounds, the guitar man's back with us. Craig Ellis, how are you, man?
Evening, I'm good, thank you. Hope everyone's well, and good evening to all watching.
And welcome back to Mr. Lyons. We miss you, man. We miss you. You look as though you got your grand piano. You're going to play us a song on that thing later on.
I may do, but it may be more painful than watching yesterday's game.
I don't think that's going to be possible, mate. I don't think that's going to be possible. It wasn't that bad yesterday. Good evening, everybody out in Facebook land. I can see you, Ian, Nadeem, Paul, Richard, Gary, and whoever else is out there. Welcome to you all. Joan, how are you? John Knox, hello, mate. Simon Cribbin in Canada. Mate, get your backside over here for a game. I miss you, and I'd love to see you. Georgia Wagru, great to see you in the fan zone yesterday. Rob, I can see you out there as well. Guys, as I say, this probably won't be the easiest watch in the world, but we've got some good stuff coming up as well. I know, we've got some positivity coming up, and we'll come on to that a little bit later on. We're going to start off, if you don't mind, with the other teams around the club and see how they've been getting on. The under-18s yesterday played Arsenal at home and ran out 4-3, as you can see on screen. 4-3 victors at the Crystal Palace training ground. So congratulations to them. Up next for the under-18s, they are home to Leicester on Saturday, the 18th of March at 12 o'clock kickoff. The under-21s didn't have a game this week. And certainly not since our last show. Their next game is also against Arsenal under-21s on Friday, the 17th of March at 7 o'clock in the evening. Premier League 2, Division 1, it says, at Crystal Palace training ground. I'm not too sure what that actually means. Good news, however. Let's before we get into yesterday's action and everything else, let's talk about some good news and celebrate the fact that the girls are banging at home. Girls, fantastic. There's your lineup for today's game that was away at Bramwell Lane in Sheffield. Okay, and I'm delighted to say the captain there, Coral Haynes, as you can see there, slapped home the winner. I'm delighted to say they are on a run now. There's 3 out of the last 4 wins for the girls. Okay, Coral, if you are listening on the coach, I know you've got the link. Please click that link and enter the show. Come on and tell us about the goal. The seen the goal and I listened to some of the action on the FA website. So congratulations. There you go. There's the girls at Bramwell Lane after the game celebrating the win. Well done to Dean and the team and all of you lovely ladies. I think it's a fucking cracking result up there. And the next game for the ladies is away at Birmingham. And if the results go our way on that fixture, we potentially could go third in the championship. So they did have a rocky period a few weeks ago, but they are on a roll at the moment. So congratulations to all concerned. I think it's really good news. So if you are watching Coral, you know what to do. We're waiting for you. Please come along and tell us about your day. Let's move on to the loan watch, how some of our players are doing out in football land up and down the country. Jezrak Saki played for 71 minutes yesterday for Charlton and did not score again. Okay, that's 2 games on the trot now that he hasn't hit the back of the net, and they drew at home to Accrington Stanley. No match this week for Remy Matthews at St Johnstone. They don't play till next weekend. Daniel Quick played for Billericay Town in a 1-0 home defeat to Wingate and Finchley. Never heard of them. Rob Street started for Shrewsbury Town, scored on the 44th minute and was substituted in the 90th. Killian Phillips, strangely enough, was not part of the squad in a 3-1 home win against Morecambe. Jake O'Brien played all 90 minutes for RWD Molenbeek this afternoon and 3-2 win at home to Club NXT. Jack Butland, what was the point in him, boys? Let's just stop there for a minute. What was the point in Jack Butland going to Man United? Somebody educate me. Because once again, Jack Butland did not even make the bench for Southampton today, against Southampton today. He hasn't even been on the bench, I don't think. He's been up there. What was the point? Somebody educate me? Because I don't know.
Is that a rhetorical education question, or are you actually throwing it out to us?
Yeah, no, I'm throwing that to you guys. Can anybody see the logic?
I'll pick that up then. I think it's just to save wages. I can't think of any other reason, because he's not even getting a sniff, is he? Let's be honest. And we're putting kids on the bench. It is a bizarre. And also, not entirely sure that we can actually recall him from the loan. So I don't know. It's a little bizarre, but there you go. What can you do? Maybe it was. I don't know. I'm not even going to go there.
Okay, well, Malachi Boateng played a full 90 minutes for Queen's Park and again was booked in the 90th minute. Malcolm Ebiowei came off the bench for Hull City at half-time in a 1-1 draw away to Coventry. Couple more for you. Luke Plange came on a substitute in the 78th minute for Lincoln City in their 2-1 defeat at Exeter City. And David Boateng was not in the squad for Dover. I think we'll call that a day there on all the loans. So, on we go. Boys, whilst yesterday was another defeat and we've got two more tough fixtures coming up, just an overview really before Greg goes into the game itself. Is there any massive positivity coming up for the next, 3 months? Tim, you go first.
I'm struggling.
He's looking up to the sky.
I'm struggling. Yeah, struggling. I think we'll be all right, but there's a lot of things not right with the club. I think that there's some things not firing there. We should be okay, but on our current form, 4 goals this year, no home win since October, 3 consecutive games without a shot on target. I'm trying to be glass half full, but the form we're in, I'm struggling with it.
Okay, Greg, same question to you, mate. We know what we're going to be talking about coming up later in the show. Just yet,
yeah, absolutely.
Can you see anything positive from the way things are at the moment?
Yeah, I can. I think we've had a really tough run of fixtures. I know we've mentioned that before, but we've literally got, everybody below us left to play. Now, we're not in great form, but, we are going up against, the best of the best, albeit Brighton, unfortunately, is sort of in that mix at the moment. Man City and Arsenal, we took a point off Liverpool. The positives are the Southamptons, Leeds, Evertons, Forests are all to come. Now, that is the season. 3 wins, 3 draws, and the season's over. We're on the beach. That's it. It's done. Now, that is what we need to look to, and we need to draw positives from the fact that that's what's coming. This doesn't mean to say they're easy or winnable games, but they are games against teams that you would like to think Palace will go out and beat. I understand the stats are what they are with regards to shots on targets and things like that. But, Palace aren't going to set the world alight against those bigger sides. The gulf's never been bigger than what it is now. The confidence is low. This is the make or break part now for Palace and Vieira. This is it now. This is where they've got to go, dig in, get the victories, and get on the beach.
I think you're talking sense there. Ian, I want to ask you a question. Greg just used the word confidence, low confidence. I know that losing is an easy habit to get into and everything else. It's certainly screwing up my mental health at the moment. On the way to the game yesterday, I was listening on the radio to the Liverpool-Bournemouth game, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually wanted Liverpool to win this. Bear in mind, I hate anything to do with Merseyside. By the way, Ian Noble's watching us in the chat evening in. He's just told us Butland did make the bench for the European game in the week. And all of a sudden, Liverpool win a penalty, and Mo Salah picks the ball up, and I'm thinking, come on, let's get Bournemouth in deep with shit that they already are. And then Salah believe it or not, Mo Salah goes and skies it, and it's still coming down from the other back of the stand, I believe. And it was just, and then of course, as we know, Bournemouth went on to win the game, and that's screwing my head up. Greg was talking about, habits and everything else. Do you think we are in trouble, Ian? You're a man of a voice of reason.
Well, I have to say that obviously that's why Ellis is much missed, Mr. Ellis, because he gave an eminently sensible reply. And it comes to something when out of all of us, I am the one that's Mr. Positive. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because, I am positive. I don't think there's a lot wrong at the minute, other than the fact, we clearly have people in the club that know where the goal and the net are, but apparently they're all women. It's when we get a chance. Well, I know we're going to talk later about what we think the issues are and what needs to be done, but Paul McNamara just come up with great positive, and something that I've said for a couple of games now is that I think Lukongo is looking a positive in the way that how he plays and how he's settled into the team and the effect he has on us when he's playing. Maybe not insofar as that, is someone that we'll be able to nick from Arsenal, because if we get a chance, I think we should put in an offer for him. But there are positives. We're not getting absolutely battered. Let's put this in perspective. We had the hardest start to any Premier League team in the history of the Premier League, based on the rankings where our first 8 or 10 fixtures finished in the previous season. We're just going through that second batch of games again, which should end in the next 3 games or so. And then that's when, the boys have touched upon, that's when we really need to see something from the side. That's when we really need to see something from Vieira as to how to change it. And it's the attitude. And too often, Palace have been a team that pull off the results against the teams above us and not teams around us and below us. And that is what we have the opportunity to do, and we need to do. Otherwise, we will be in a relegation scrap. But if we do get points against teams in and around us, that just gives the gap. That just stretches the gap and puts them in trouble. And I think the shackles will come off. I hope I'm right, but we'll wait and see, won't we?
Thank you, mate. So let's kick off straight away, if you don't mind, guys, into the lineup for yesterday's game. Now, again, on the way to the game, I'm thinking about what would screw my mental health up madly, okay? And I'm not one that actually normally suffers with issues with mental health, but Crystal Palace are pushing me in that direction at the moment. And I thought to myself, well, do you know what? I know we haven't got Czechnikora in the lineup because he's obviously serving his 1-match suspension, but as long as he doesn't play Milivojevic and he doesn't recall Schlupp, and obviously it'd be nice if Eze was to replace Ayew. And of course, there's no surprise to me when I get to the ground and the lineup was exactly just as I've just said. Guaita, Klein, who I want to talk about in a minute, Gehi, Addison, Mitchell, Lukongo, who Ian, incidentally, don't forget, can't play against his parent club at the weekend, Milivojevic, Schlupp, Ayew, Zaha, and Elise. I was a bit disappointed Amahada didn't make a start, or even Edouard didn't make a start, but that was what he chose, and I sort of understand it if I'm honest with you. And I was concerned about the Milivojevic thing initially, but having watched the game live, and I was actually at Sellers Park, I think probably our best player in the first half, I hate to say what I'm about to say, was our skipper Luka Milivojevic. I thought he pushed us forward. Okay, he pushed us out the box. Okay, and we weren't playing as deep. Ian, I'm happy to discuss it with you in great detail. He pushed us forward and out of the box, whereas in the second half, I know he got an early booking, and it's a stupid early booking. But he, after he got substituted, we dropped onto the 18-yard box, inviting Man City even more onto us. Anyway, I might be talking crap there. Why don't you, before you respond, okay, that's fine. Why don't we let Greg do his match review, okay, and then we can chew the cud over what I just said. Greg Ellis.
Okay, so apologies in advance to everybody that usually watches the show and our talisman Ian Noble, who normally delivers this. So unfortunately, these are my ramblings from watching the game. So I've decided I've picked out about probably about 15 or 20 key moments of the game. So really, I suppose that the first half, from Foden's corner, Gundogan lays a cross onto the head of Stones, which sort of drops to Rodri. It forces a good save from Guaita, which is then cleared after a short melee. So I think the thing I took from that the most really was I quite like the lovely hot pink goalkeeper's kit, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, not a great start. Grealish then, again another Manchester City attack. Grealish sets out on a mazy run and skips past Klein, unfortunately, with relative ease. And he drills his shot just wide of Guaita's right hand side post. On the replay, I think Guaita had it covered. There was a little bit of Palace action. A bright run from Elise. He lays the balls off to Zaha, but really Zaha doesn't really get the shot away, and it gets blocked and cleared quite easily. Palace were then outmaneuvered by City. I can only really describe it as triangle passing, because again, when I watched it on the replay and you see the positioning of the players, it really is. It was just too easy for City to just pass through the team. So Ake squares the ball to Haaland, but and he just sends it over the bar from the 6-yard box. Any other day, we're probably 2, nearly 3 down at this point. And I think at that stage of the game, I was just thinking, are City, are they just, are they just having an off day? Okay, so Man City had a bit of interplay from Grealish and Haaland. I guess they're popping up quite a lot. I think they featured pretty heavily in the first half. Sees Haaland win the ball in the 6-yard box with Guaita stretching to make a save, and the ball ricochets back to Haaland. And then I thought it was a really odd shot and quite reminiscent of Jeff Thomas versus France, how it manages to sort of completely miss the goal and head towards the corner flag. So that was a let off, and really covering the first half. That it was pretty one-sided. I don't want to say that Palace were terrible. I think it's more what I touched on earlier. This is Man City. This is the best team probably in the world. We're not ever really going to be in a great position to dominate the game. But let's face it, we get to half time at 0-0, and we fended off Man City at this point. So heading over to the second half, there's a free kick on the edge of the box with Milivojevic sort of handling Grealish. His arm is on Grealish, but I think the contact it is quite light. I'm pretty sure though, given if it was the other way around, we would have been screaming for the foul. But I did think it was a bit light. Foden hits the target, and it does produce I think a brilliant save from Guaita. Clearly, I think he's had an excellent game without him between the sticks. A previous goalkeeper who, I won't mention his name, but rhymes with Bain Benassi. We might have been, a few goals down. And then the next attack again from Manchester City, Silva's out wide. I still can't believe that he missed this, and he sends an absolutely beautiful pass into the feet of Alvarez, and it does an absolutely stunning turn. And at that point, I'm just thinking, here you go, floodgates now, and he misses the target. I thought that was a real shocker. And then the confidence that sort of gave me, I just thought, City are not going to score today. This is going to be 0-0. And maybe I was right last week. We're going to get an own goal in the last minute off someone's backside. Okay. City, I think City are pretty well known for cynical fouling. It kind of, for me, it takes a bit of shine off off their playing. But yeah, Ake brings Elise down. Season gets getting yellow card. It was really agricultural. But again, as we watch football and in the modern game, this is a big boy tactic, isn't it? This is what teams do to kind of scythe away any kind of opportunity. I don't want to digress too much away from the game, and I'd probably get pelters for this, but it does make me think a yellow card's kind of pointless. I don't want to call it sin bin, but there isn't any real advantage. And if you wanted to cut that out of the game, that kind of cynical negativity, if players went off for 10 or 15 minutes, would that change their tactics? And I can't help but think it would be a good thing. But like I said, I'd love to hear people's views in the comments on what they think of that. Would that improve the game if you remove that kind of cynical tactic away? Okay, so Grealish threads another pass into Haaland, who drags his shot wide, but luckily that was offside. But again, it was just another example of really, if City were on fire on their day, then I really think we're like lambs to slaughter. Okay, then the goal, or the penalty, I should say. There's a short corner played into Gundogan, who is then fouled by Elise. It's definitely a penalty. Unfortunately, it's a stonewall penalty. It's a clear rush of blood to the head. And when I saw it, and I've seen the replay a few times, I just thought to myself, did he really need to make a challenge? I just thought all he really had to do was put the player under pressure, and I think he would have passed the ball back out to the corner taker. So Haaland steps up, and to be honest, I think we all really knew he wasn't going to miss. Appreciate Salah's penalties are a work of art, but I don't know. I was pretty confident that we were going to be 1-0 down. So to be honest, I've written here, he slots the penalty like he's driven his Rolls Royce into a garage. That's 34 goals this season. I know we're all Palace fans, but to be fair, it is hard not to watch City and Haaland and just think, this is unreal. Ronaldo, I guess we've seen that kind of talent, but 34 goals in one season and to get so many so quick and so many hat tricks, it's I do like watching him. I don't like him scoring goals against Palace, but he is a talent. So there was a good move. So Zaha was twisting and turning in the middle of the park, and John Stones sort of contorts his body, and I thought it was really dramatic. Sort of falls to the floor, clutching his knee, and I just think he created that scenario. I don't think that clearly that Zaha is. I think he kind of holds him, but I just thought you created that, Stones. There was.
I personally think he's crap. I personally think he is a crap centre half. I really do, but that's my opinion. Sorry, mate, I interrupted.
No. Okay, and then a rare Palace move. So Elise sends the ball over to Zaha. When the ball falls to Edouard, and he lays it off into Hamada, and he sends a really nice pass through to Eze, but whose shot is deflected out for a corner. So Eze moves the ball. Edouard moves the ball over to Eze, who finds Zaha. Zaha does a few twists and turns, and he makes some space down the left-hand side. But his cross literally misses absolutely everybody, and then it's easily cleared. And just watching that move, it's really horrible, because you think these guys, they're training week in, week out. They're working on being in the box, having a presence. And I know it's really difficult and really easy for us to say, but you've got to find players in that situation. So when that ball just goes across and it misses everybody, it's just you're just thinking to yourself, are we ever going to score again? And just dropping back to like the lineup, I completely understand with what you're saying. You can understand that lineup, but there isn't a centre forward really, starting, is there? It's I get why we've gone that way, because it's City. I don't. Well, I guess at that point, I think Edouard is on the pitch, so you could give that. I think look, overall, I think I'm going to draw the line under the game there. We've all seen it, and there's only a few things you can really take away from it. But I think Palace played doggedly. I think City were lackluster in front of goal. It should definitely have been more than 1-0. It kind of left me thinking, did Palace deserve a point? And ultimately, was the defeat of our own making? Was it friendly fire? And hey, we're a review show, and we were just chatting before the show starts, and I said I can't blame Elise for it. He's young, and I'm not going to name names unless they want to come forward. But they're right. It was his fault, really. Haaland still got a score, but you can look at that and you think, if we don't bring Gundogan down, we've scrapped for a 0-0. We're having a different show tonight, and we've come away with a point. And you're going to look at points against Man City and Liverpool as positives. So
absolutely. Listen, I thank you for that, mate. And it's stuff that on there, a couple of bits and pieces I do want to pick up on. Apparently, according to Bruce in the chat, I'm on a yellow card for using the C word and interrupting you during that. So my apologies. Tim, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah, just going into the chat, really. Sad one, I think, first is Chris Sturck. Thank you for some positivity. I've had to come off the BBS and not even looking at the match feeds afterwards. So toxic and a real shame. Palace pins. My only concern is if this team has the desire to fight against the bottom teams. John CPFC, don't have the players to get us out of trouble, afraid. We'll be in a scrap. Come on, we are in it. Martin Smith, I can't see PV taking us forward. He wasn't first choice as manager. He certainly wasn't mine, but I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. His team selection, playing players out of position, not playing any strikers, no matter how poor they are, I'm sorry to say he needs to go ASAP. Rob Doherty, we should play to our strengths. Sadly, we don't have any at the moment. Change of tactics needed sooner rather than later. Why do we always have to go behind before we play with passion? Paul Grant. Greg, was Aston Villa one of our hard run of fixtures? Because as much as they were garbage, we were worse. Paul Wyatt. This is something seriously wrong at the club. 3 games and no shots on goal. Come on, fellas, wake up. And finally, Daniel Garlick. Let's just accept we are a team in the Premier League with lackluster resters and PV has not been backed. We have to continue to invest in the team at every opportunity. Now, just following on from that, the first thing I'd say is I was standing next to Lord Noble the game yesterday, and we were standing there as the teams came out, and you just look at the Manchester City squad as they walk past, and you're just like, holy shit, now I'm on a yellow card. That's it. But if it wasn't by a stupid mistake from Elise, and I don't think it's the first that he's cost us this season, we would have got a 0-0 and a deserved 0-0, I think. But to Ian's point and Greg's about, we all want to be positive, and I'd like to be. But if we were playing and we were getting lots of shots in and like there were great saves, hitting the post, just going wide and looking like it, I'd be positive. But I can't be positive. Listen, stats, yeah, stats are only stats. But you spend your money to go and watch the team play. You want to see shots on target. I don't care who you're playing. But for 3 games, not a shot on target, and not even looking like getting a shot on target, I don't see logically how you can say, yes, we're playing the other teams, get the next 2 games out the window. If you look how Everton are playing now, how much they're fighting, how much Leeds are fighting. All right, they didn't do it against Brighton, but they're still fighting. I don't see that.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to come to you in a second. I'm just going to pick up on one point you spoke about there, if you don't mind, Tim, and I'm quite happy to throw it over to the rest of you. You said about Elise, a stupid tackle in the box. It was, okay? There's make no bones about it. We all know ridiculous tackle in the box, stupid challenge, gave away the penalty, ultimately cost us a point for sure. That's all it did. It was a real shame because, in my personal opinion, at that point during the game, I actually thought for the first time in the game, we were actually on the ascendancy. You could just tell that Man City were getting frustrated, more and more frustrated that they hadn't scored. They had all the possession in the world. They had shots on target and everything else, and they hadn't scored. Couple of good saves, and you're right. like to point them out, Greg from Guaita, who I believe was man of the match yesterday, if I'm honest with you. But the one thing that we, over the last few weeks, the whole of Palace Twitter, all of the places, everywhere, social media have been criticising the fact that Elise has been exposing our right back, if you like, to everything. Okay, he's not tracking back, he's not helping, he's not assisting the back four, if you like. Okay, he's great going forward, we know that, but the criticism of him is he hasn't been tracking back. Well, let's play a little bit fair here. Yesterday, he was back in a defensive position at a corner, which you could argue our right back should have gone out to close down that short corner that Greg just alluded to. I think people out there saying Elise hasn't been doing this, Elise hasn't been doing that. I think we've seen a second part of his game. Ian, you can have this right now. A second part to his game that is actually improving, and that is his tracking back and his work rate. Ian.
Right, before I do it, and maybe Tim, if you can just keep track of this, I'm going to ask everyone watching now what they think we need. Change of formation, strikers, midfielders, whatever. Just put down there what we need. While you're thinking about that, I'm just going to say, Nick, how the hell you can say John Stones isn't a good player? I've no idea, because he's a great centre-back. Secondly, Luca, your thoughts on him having a great game? I didn't see it. We were on the back foot for the first 15 minutes of yesterday's game. For the first 15 minutes of yesterday's game, we were on the back foot and camped on and around our penalty box. Luca didn't do too bad, but as soon as he made that stupid flick, lost his head, and then got booked, he completely went out of the game. When we changed formation and we had to bring players on, then yeah, okay. Which brings me on to my next point about this talent we have. At the minute, it seems to me that Vieira is trying to do everything to play our talent and get as much of our talent on the pitch. But the problem with our talent, and there was a great stat in the first 20 minutes of yesterday's game, is that our combined talent of Ayew, Wilf and Elise gave the ball away 14 times in the first 20 minutes. And therein lies our issue, and has been our issue all the time. We're set up to counterattack, and you can only counterattack when you're on it, you're pressing and everything. And we've stopped that. I saw a load of comments coming on saying that we have no intensity, nothing of that. Like, that's because, and you're right with Elise, he's done a lot of backtracking in the last 2 to 3 games. Okay. What he did yesterday was absolutely stupid. He should have just stopped and then forced the pass out wide, but he didn't, but that's because he's having it jumped into him. He's got to backtrack all the time. You've got the likes of Wilf, Ayew and Elise backtracking. You're never going to get breakout. And even if you do on a counter-attack, you have to keep hold of the ball and not turn it over. And unfortunately, players like Ayew and Elise and Wilf are continually turning the ball over when they're in good positions. And something has to change on that regard. But the biggest thing for me is that it's the formation. I think, and this is why I was going, I get the points people are saying we're already in a scrap. Well, we're getting dragged into it. We're not all in it at the minute, but we are certainly getting dragged into it. And, I get the point about Villa, but Villa didn't actually score against us. It was Anderson that scored against us. Maybe that counts as a shot on target. But, it's just frustrating. But I don't think there's a lot wrong. I'll go back to what I said at the very start. I really, really don't think there's a lot wrong at the minute. It's just a few things that need tweaking, and and they certainly need a rocket up their backside without a shadow of a doubt. Sean Derry needs to just make a sudden appearance in the changing room and threaten to kill them all, because or what I'd like to see is someone like Wilf, who is now like the most experienced player in the team, actually having a players' meeting. You hear about it happening in the likes of Everton, Southampton, and West Ham even have had a one or two lately. You know, the players need to take it upon themselves to actually get into it and then, you know, make an effort to all pull together. Are we seeing that? Again, Tim brought up a great point earlier about, you know, we're bottom of pretty much every stat other than the poorest one, which is no shots on target, where we're top. You know, shots on target, shots, miles covered, you know, tackles made, whatever. We seem to be 19th or 20th in everything, and it's just not good enough. And as fans, we've always said it, haven't we? And I don't think there will be anyone that disagrees with this, is that all we want is to see a bit of fight, and we're not even seeing that in a minute.
We used the word try yesterday. The word, all we want them to do is try. A couple of quick things. First of all, a bit of news for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just changing the subject very quickly while it's in my head. I see Missile Patel is out in the chat. Hello, mate. We need you back on. On the subject of team members, I'm delighted to announce that on the back of last week's performance, Fergus Tidd has very kindly agreed to join the presenting team, and he will be back with us again very soon. I think you'll all agree with us. Last week, Fergus was outstanding. I know he's out there this evening. So good evening, Missile. Good evening, Ferg. I hope I see Chloe's out there. Ian Noble's out there. Cross, we've got more of you watching the bloody show than actually appearing on it this week. But anyway, delighted to welcome you on the team, Ferg. The other things you mentioned a minute ago, Tim, you said somebody has come off the BBS. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, and there's loads of you out there this evening, just a simple yes or no in the chat, please. Who uses Homesdale Online and who uses BBS? Do any of you still use it? I haven't been on the BBS for 5 years. I didn't even realise it was still a thing, if I'm honest with you. Since, I know it was the go-to places years ago. Those two sites were the go-to places. But are they still actually a thing? Please educate me, because I didn't even know they were still active. But there you go. Gary Clark straight away come back and said, yes, it's on the Homesdale. Rob Donovan says BBS. Right, so where were we? Anything else in the chat, Tim? You wanted to make a point, and then Greg, I'm coming to you.
Yeah, the point I'll make, I'll just come back to Ian. I'd love to know, I completely agree with what you said, where things need to change. But do you seriously think Vieira or his coaching staff have the ability or the will to actually do what is necessary to make those changes?
Ian, are you responding? He's frozen.
Okay. Nigel needs to. I think Nigel needs to play.
Is he? What's he saying? I don't know what he's saying. Is he breaking up?
Yeah, I can't really hear it. He's smiling now.
Ian, we can't hear you. Try again.
Okay, it's because all the pictures are going on. I think we were having problems in the production side of things. Okay, so I think that he can change things. Whether or not he will, I don't know. Whether or not he's going to persist with trying to overload the problem, as I see it, and I appreciate everyone that put in the chat as to what they want. I was actually expecting, and I'm pleased that very few of you, if any of you, went this route, saying that we need a new striker, because that clearly, patently, isn't what we need. What we need, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't know if you guys out there would agree, change of formation. Okay, I think playing two defensive midfielders automatically attracts players onto you, teams onto you. There is a time and a place to play two defensive midfielders, and that would be against the Man Cities, the Arsenals, etc. And even, dare I say it, the scum on the coast, because anyone that thinks we're going to get anything out of them this week is sadly mistaken as well, unfortunately, but it's long overdue, I think. But when it comes to the teams around us and below us, I'd love to see us go back to how well we, the way we were playing last season, and on the front foot. And that means releasing certainly one of those defensive midfielders. And Nick, I think what you were saying about Luca was right. They were able to exploit us a little more yesterday once Luca wasn't there. But that's because when Amada came on, he was actually pushed on. But when he was pushed on, we actually looked more of a threat. And when Edouard came on, we looked more of a threat. And that's the gamble we're going to have to take. That's the gamble I think Vieira's going to have to take. He's going to have to change the formation and allow us to hit, to suck teams on, win the ball, let the defence do the work rather than trying to crowd it out and have two people chasing the ball all the time.
Right.
Win the
Okay.
ball, and then you've got the likes of Gurhey and Anderson that can thread it, and then we can get behind teams. We haven't seen enough of that this season. We don't do enough of it, and I think that's the only way we're really going to get out of it.
Thank you, mate. Greg, I'm coming to you now because I want to ask you a question. In the chat, in response to Ian's question, somebody said that they want us to see Vieira playing Elise, Eze, and Zaha, and I think it was Edouard in the same lineup. Okay, well, leaving Edouard out for the moment, my honest opinion is every time we've started Eze, his performance has been, I nearly swore then, has been below par. Okay, we'll leave it at that. How do we play those three together? And sorry, I know you wanted to make a point as well.
If I'm honest with you, I think look, on paper, you would consider them the strongest players. There's two ways of looking at it, and I think the way that the manager will go is I don't think he'll do that. I think he'll stick with I don't want to call him his favourites, but you know, I think he certainly has, you know, eyes for Ayew and Schlupp. It's a roll of the dice thing, isn't it? I think when you're going to play against the comparable teams, you either go for it or you're cautious. It's so difficult to choose between the two of what to do, really. You could argue, and I think Ian's right. I think Wednesday is unfortunately is not going to end up in our favour. Is that a game to roll the dice and put those players out there? Because in a lot of ways, if you do put those players out there and we get a negative result, then you know, are you telling us, the fan base, well, look, these are the players you think you want to see, or you go cautious and you know, it probably is 0-0 for 70 odd minutes and we maybe lose 1-0. So how do you determine that? To be honest, I'm not sure I can really answer the question. I just think they are your two options.
Okay, thank you, mate. Well, on the subject of Wednesday evening, because we're going to move on, if you don't mind, boys, I want to talk about the up and coming fixtures. On the subject of Wednesday evening, I will be winging my way down south, down to that horrible place. Okay, and if any of you are in Facebook land are joining us down on the south coast, we will be in. I think it's the Wetherspoons down near the seafront, straight out the station, straight down the hill, and it's on the right hand side. It's the away supporters pub for that fixture every year. And if you've never been in there to the Spoons on that day, please get in there early for number one. Obviously, because it was full of Palace fans, it does get busy. But it's actually a real raucous and friendly environment. It's really good fun. Okay, I shall be down there most of the day. Miss Baker's out in the chat. I know she's heading her way down there, and hopefully she'll join us for a drink or 7 in that Wetherspoons pub. So if you're down there, please come up and say hello. Don't be shy. I'm just a Palace fan at the end of the day, heading up a page on social media, enjoying what we do. Okay, so if you are in the pub and you see me down there, come up and say hello to us, because I really want to. I would be delighted to say hello. Right, fixtures coming up. I think it's fair to say, let's move on. Go on, Greg. I know you want to make a point.
Okay, yeah. All it was, there was a couple of comments, and back to your sort of original question is, what do we need? And it was a comment from Chloe Johnson, and I agree with her. I think Patrick Vieira needs to decide what his best 11 is. I know that, appreciate that sort of touches on your preceding question, but I think he needs to understand the best starting 11. Another question, sorry, that I had, Richard Thomas. Yes, it is a Fender Jazzmaster. It's the not the green one, it's the cream one. Slightly unrelated to football. And I can't remember the name of the chap that mentioned about the Villa game. Yes, that was one of our cup finals. We're not going to win them all. Villa are comparable to Palace, and Anderson did score the goal, which Ian had mentioned. Otherwise, we're getting a 0-0. We're 20 minutes away yesterday, or 25 minutes yesterday from getting a 0-0, a draw. These are the fine margins, and unfortunately, we're on the wrong end of all of these at the moment. But like I said earlier, this show changes. If we'd have drawn at Villa, drawn against City, we've got a different outlook. It's on a knife edge. You know, I get it, it's that close, and we would be 2-3 points better off.
Thank you, mate. Ian.
Nick, just a very quick one. Gary Fisher, I just seen his post. If we lose Wednesday, Vieira's gone Thursday morning. Really? Do we really think that? Does anyone else really think that? I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not. Is it that? Are we at that point, really?
Ian, you just teed Tim up. Tim.
If he goes, who the hell are you going to get in his place? I still say, if you look, and he's not the only one, and I've said it many times and I'll say it again, the board and the owners have a lot to answer for, because quite simply, over the 10 years that we've been in the Premier League, they have not invested into the team to the level that is needed to push a team forward in the Premier League. Each year it's just get by, let's just get to the close season and then see what we can do. So that's not Vieira's fault. You can't turn you can't make a silk pierce out of the sow's ear. Him and all the other managers have not been backed enough. It is his fault he plays players in the wrong position. Yes. But you get rid of Vieira, who are you going to get in? Sam Allardyce? Coleman? What managers out there? Because Potter's not going to get sacked by Chelsea now. Who would you get in his place? And would they do any different?
Would you have Brendan Rodgers if he was sacked from Leicester?
No, I don't think we will sack him. I don't think he will. Tim, I think the point you're making is actually quite valid, because what you got to realise is we are halfway through a good rebuild. Well, we've got no choice. At the end of this season, what did we say? 10 out of contracts. We are going to go and complete that.
Yeah,
whether we buy any players or not. Now, they've already made a start on the first half. Let's get the second half done now at the end of this season, okay, and see where we are. If in September we're sitting here saying, we haven't had another shot on target, then we'll move it on. But we're only halfway through the project. It's a project. Let's stay positive. Right, I want to move it on because I'm conscious of the time, guys. So let's write off Brighton. Let's write off Arsenal, okay? I'm not worried about them. We have got 12 games left, 5 at home, 7 away. Okay, and out of those games, now just listen to this running. You're all out there worried about that we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to get relegated. We could have a massive bearing. Palace could have a massive bearing on what happens at the bottom of the table. And listen to this. So we got to play 8 of the teams that are below us. We've still got yet to play. Yes, we've still got to play Spurs, Arsenal, Brighton. I know that. Okay, but we've got to play 8 of the teams below us. Okay, which gives us a huge say in what happens at the end of May, who goes down. So it's Leicester at home, it's Leeds away, it's Southampton away, Everton at home. You know my thoughts on everything that comes out of Merseyside. The joys of this show, if we are responsible for sending Everton down, it would be nothing but happiness, okay? We've got to play West Ham at home. We could end up sending West Ham down. We've got to play Bournemouth at home. We've got to play Fulham away, irrelevant, because they're one of the 3 or 4 we've got to play above us, okay? And Forest. We could have a huge bearing on what happens at the end of the season. You never know, we might lose them all. We get sucked into it and we go down. But the reality is, because of our points tally now and who we've got left to play, God, don't go on the BBS and say this because you get shot down. But think positive.
Don't look at John's comment either, because he's just said we'll all defeats.
There's some really good comments. There's some really good
comments.
Yeah, there have been some great comments. The one that came up, that's what I was laughing at. The one with Mark said that Gary Lineker's free. I just wet myself then. That's hilarious.
My favourite comment so far was Ian Noble being lined up to do match of the day too. That was a bit earlier.
With his glass of Merlot.
Yeah, there is. In all fairness, there is lots of good questions, and namely about playing people in the right position. The fact that we needed to upgrade a right back 3 years ago. I don't think I've seen it, but in my opinion, I think we needed to buy a left back, which I think I've said in every show I've been on. We can't just write games off, which again was another Chloe comment. Look, that fixture list that came up, avoid defeat in all of those games, 3 wins, 3 draws, we're done. We're on the beach. That's it. Over. Season's finished. And I won't come back on the show.
Time you've used that word on this show, beach.
5-3-2. You asked. No, sorry, 3-5-2. I don't know. I don't think we want to risk it right now. But the thought of a 3-5-2 with Anderson, Richards, and Gahey, I think sounds like something I'd like to see.
Yeah.
I think that would be positive. I think that would be a good change. I'd definitely like to know people's comments on that side of things. But yeah, I looking at that fixture list, if we do pick up a draw against Brighton and Arsenal, it's entirely possible. There's 2 more points, 1 more draw, and then look, you've got your Leeds, Everton's. I forget the other games, but we will get a win. We will win again, and you never know. These kind of things happen. You put a string of results together. Palace could go and win, 3 out of 4. The whole landscape's changed at that point. I think we're going to scrape it. We it's not pretty. It's not good. We know we're in trouble. It's not right. There's something not quite right. But look, stay positive, people.
Can you see Paul Grant's comment to you, Greg? Have you ever been on the beach in Oldham? I think what he's alluding to with the Oldham back in the day.
Yeah, like I said last week, though, that was 4 teams went down that year, and we were naturally the 4th side. So, but exactly that. They pull 3 wins out the bag. Who would be 2 up front, Greg? From Georgia Wagyu. I don't know if we play that way. 4-4-2. I'd love to see it. I just don't think Palace would ever play it.
I'd tell you what I'd like. I'd certainly go with 3-5-2, but when was the last time we had a proper number 10 sitting in the hole?
Yeah.
Okay, because this for me is our problem, is our lack of creativity. For all this talent I keep hearing about, they're individuals, they're not team players. And yes, there will be moments when they'll get everyone on their feet. The only person that ever does it consistently is Wilf, and has ever done it consistently is Wilf. But he can't do it on his own. So we need a team. Elise, for a professional player, I cannot believe a professional player of that age is so one-footed. As a defender, you just show him onto his right foot all the time, onto his right foot, because he doesn't have one. And this, we get blinded by these little moments of genius. Exactly. And then, we just think the sun shines out their backside. They're pretty average. It's a pretty average team. But when we play, we have the ability. It's getting that out of them. And you do that through the formation. So I agree, Greg. 3 at the back. Jell and I were talking about this a few weeks back. 3 at the back. We've got the players, and they're all 3 of them, including, and you can include Tompkins in this as well. They're all good on the ball, and maybe he's the weaker passer out of all 3, but they're all good on the ball, and they've all got a bit of pace about them. And then that pushes the whole team up forward, and then you've got the chance of getting in behind teams. But we still need that little Coutinho, that little Firmino, that little player that just sits in the hole and just pings the ball about. Aaron Ramsey in his prime, whatever. And we've never had one, have we? I'm not even going to think about Thomas Brolin. So, but I don't think. Can any of you guys remember when we've had a proper sitting in the hole number 10? Anyone out there? I can't.
Would you have considered Nick Cole that player? No. I think that's the player we thought we would probably buy.
Jordan Mudge. There we go. He's back playing for Crawley now.
Jordan Mudge. Right, boys. A couple of comments. Simon Cribbin saying we can't do 3-5-2 without wing backs, and there was a question, Nigel, from Teresa Baker, and I wondered, there it is. Okay, and I think it's probably the best question of the night, and she's asking you and the panel: do you think creativity by other players is sometimes hampered by Wilf? Now, do you know what? It's actually sometimes something I've thought of before. That's obviously how we're going to be playing next season, I would guess, with Elise and Zaha. Zaha will obviously be gone. Elise and Eze in the team with probably Edward up top. And I think that's a major part of the project. Do you think the Zaha thing sometimes has held us back. That all we've tried to do over the last 2 or 3 years is get the ball out of Wilf at all cost. Greg.
Look, I think when you've got a player like that, you haven't really got much choice, have you? You know, he is the strongest player, so you know that is playing to your strength, isn't it? You know, ultimately, why are you not going to do that? Does it hamper creativity? Potentially, yeah. I guess it exposes us as not really having an option B, which we haven't had for a long time. I think last season that's call it the flash in the pan, you know, the Gallagher effect, whatever you want. You know, let's face it, we had a different experience last season with a not too different points tally as to what we have now. Last season was much more positive, a good cup run. You know, we got Super Pat Vieira 12 months ago. Now, you know, we're having conversations about who are they replacing. Who are they replacing him with? Look, I think it's clear that we don't have that other option.
Sorry, Greg, we are listening to you, but a comment in the chat just now is: can somebody ask Ian to play us out a little Bobby Crush on the piano as we go off tonight, which I think would be highly amusing.
I thought Bobby thought I didn't even know who Bobby Crush is, but
yes, you do. Right, okay, Ian. Same question to you: is Will stifling our creativity?
Yeah, Teresa, spot on. Yes, I do think so. But that's because, you know, he gets the ball all the time because he's the only one out of our talent that can actually hold on to it and do something with it at the minute. But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? If you don't give him the ball, we lose it, we turn it over. If you do give him the ball, then you know he's a one-man show. So I think we said it for quite a while now. Once he's gone, we'll have to find another way of playing, and you might find it will settle down and it'll be more of a team effort.
Tim, same question.
Yeah, I think unfortunately age is catching up with Will to a certain extent. I don't think he's quite as quick as he used to be, and also other teams have figured him out. They know what to do to like keep him out of the game a bit. And unfortunately, because I think he's such a big character and obviously such a big player at the club, I think there is certainly an element of just give it to Will, push Will, give it to Will, but it's just not producing.
Okay, mate. Well, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, I'm going to call it a night in a minute. We have got a show coming up next Monday, I believe it is. I'm sure. There you go. As if by magic. We will return on Monday, the 20th of March at 8 o'clock, where we will be reviewing both the Arsenal and the Brighton games. And at the moment, as things stand, I'm delighted to say I won't be in the chair. Before you go, boys, before I let you off for the evening, I would like to know, out in Facebook land, out those two fixtures, the Brighton game and the Arsenal game, how many points do you believe that we will receive in the next 7 days before the next show on Monday evening? Ian, you first.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? How many points?
Do you believe that we will receive Brighton and Arsenal games?
None. And our goal difference will be
Ian's going with
that.
Okay, Ian's going with the positivity. Tim, your thoughts, please.
-3. No, I'm going to go 1 point. There we go. I want to be positive and go for 1 point.
Listen, we're men of the people. Look at in the chat. 0, 0, 0. Rob Donovan's always he always likes to put his head above the parapet and be different, doesn't he?
What did he say? I can't see Rob's thing. Science and 1 point says Dawn. Yeah, good on you. Rob Canavan says 1 shot on target. Tony Quinn says 0-0, and we're gonna concede 5 and 8. God, this is positive stuff, guys. I did ask.
That's a better question, Nick. Sorry, Nick. That's a better question. How many shots on target are we going to have in the next 2 games? Is probably what you should have asked.
Greg, you never answered the question, mate. I'll let you answer.
Yeah, I didn't. Look, traditionally, I think we do quite well away at the Amex and at the Emirates. So the hopeful part of me thinks we might pick up a point. To be honest, I think Brighton are going to beat us. which means we get a point at Arsenal, which is, you know, it's the business end of the season now. You know, they've got a grasp on the title. I want to say a point, but you know, to be positive, but to be fair, it's probably we're going to lose them both, I think.
I'm reading all your comments as they go through, all your predictions, guys. Teresa, I think she's just said 4 points. I think Teresa's probably fallen on trips over in A&E, and she's actually landed on one of her needles in A&E, I believe. I'm sure she's injected herself.
Laughing.
She said 4 points.
Just going back to that number 10 question, someone's pointed out Jovan Karowski and Marouane Chamakh. So I'd like your thoughts on that. For those two.
Was Chamakh a number 10?
Johan Cabaye, I saw that.
Cabaye was 7 though, wasn't he? So
probably not. Listen, boys. Cabaye was 7 for sure. Listen, I think that was. We'll draw a line under it there. We will be. I don't know who's in this. Sort of without a lineup. Guys out in the chat, the red and blue team. If you're available, drop me a message and let me know. It might even be Ian Noble in the chair. Ian Lyons, long overdue. Come back and see us soon. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I must add
the Rocket Man.
That's not his real lounge, by the way. Yeah, his lounge is full of like multicoloured balls. It's like a play pit. Okay, it's where he normally. Good to see him, mate. The sun's still shining on your head, by the way.
Likewise, yeah. Well, that's the best place for it to be.
And Greg, lovely to see you as always. Please don't be too long, yeah.
Yeah, look, thanks for having me. I think I've done a hat trick of shows now.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for keeping us company. Oh, and as you can see, we are still experiencing minor technical details. Thank you on behalf of myself, Nick Philp, your host. I will see you again, hopefully next week, and I'll see you soon. Take care. 6 points, everybody. Come on.
Night all.
Good night.
Let's hope so.